Alrighty, folks, thanks for hanging in there. We appreciate your patience, and we'll get this show on the road. Just quick introduction. I'm Eric with the QNAP team, and I'm joined here with Duval from our marketing team.
Hello, everyone.
And we also have Madeline from WD who'll be joining in and a quick presentation after our first segment of our presentation. But thank you for joining us for our webinar. Today we'll be talking about choosing the perfect NAS. Not only just Christmas time, but all year round. I mean, it's a good time because we're everybody's in the shopping season. We're wrapping that up. But just choosing the perfect NAS, it's always kind of tough, a small inconvenience. There's so many factors to think about when you're choosing the right NAS. You got capacity, you got connectivity. You also have all depending on what you're using it for, all depending on use case. What you're looking for. Today we're going to be covering different. Just different ways that simplify how to pick the right NAS. We'll talk about use cases. We'll talk about niche models. We'll have a quick spec overview. Talk about our different operating systems that we have. Then we'll be handing it over to Madeline at WD, who will talk a little bit about drives, and then we're wrapping it up with a Q&A. We'll also be having a raffle, but we'll talk about that at the end a little bit and tell you a little bit more of how we're doing our raffle this year. So, challenge of finding the right NAS. Again, we're mentioning quickly, how much storage you need, what your bottleneck is, what type of connectivity you need. We have different NAS from Ethernet, 2.5 gig, 10 gig, Thunderbolt, whatever type of connectivity you need. What will be the bottleneck? Also drives as well. We have a whole different slew of drives that are NASA compatible with, starting with the 3.5 inch drive. Do you want to go with large capacity HDDs, or do you want quick a little more performance with SSDs, or M.2 drives also as well. Some of our NAS support M.2 and now U.2 and U.3 drives as well. So you got smaller compact drives that give you much more performance. But with that, with the performance, you also got the costs that you have to think about as well. Also CPUs. We have different NAS, from our entry-level NAS that use ARM processors to our mid-level NAS that use Celeron, Intel Celeron, to AMD processors as well. We also have our large enterprise NAS that use larger AMD chipsets and also Intel Xeon chipsets. And also what your networking needs, what networking do you need as well? We have, beyond just NAS, we also have our switches as well to complement our NAS models. So if you want to upgrade, if you're looking for a 10 gig NAS and you want to get a 10 gig switch, we could also, something that you can think about that we also have to offer.
Yeah, and then the main challenge of finding the right NAS is first you need to think about what the use case for your NAS would be. If it's just for photo storage, if it's for file sharing, if it's a small business, how many people are going to log in, what are they going to do? Those will determine what kind of NAS do you require. That will be your first question that you need to get answered, right? And then the next one would be, how much storage do you require? That's always the main question, right? I need maybe 10 terabytes, I need 20 terabytes. And you also want to think about your future growth as well. Because remember, QNAP is really flexible when it comes to storage. So you can start with, let's say in today, you just need 10 terabytes, but in future, you would grow your business or your home to maybe 20 terabytes, 30 terabytes. We have a lot of video professionals that actually comes into play. The content creators, they all use our NAS. So they have this issue, right? They say, today, right now, my projects are small. I'm only having like 2 to 4 terabytes, but I will grow my business and I would need more storage. So rather than buying another NAS, you can start with, because remember, the NAS is a kind of a one-time cost, but the the challenge will be the hard drives. The hard drives are more expensive sometimes when it comes to multi-bay NAS. So with a NAS, you can do the initial cost. Let's say you can buy like a 4-bay instead of buying a 2-bay, and then just fill it up with 2 drives. And then in the future, when you want to grow, you can add additional 2 drives and expand your storage. So that's in one way to think about that. You can do that with at least with 4-bay. People have started with an 8-bay unit, but we're just filling up with 3 drives, and then they start. My home NAS actually, it's a best use case. I only needed like a few terabytes of capacity because I had one single Mac computer and then few phones, and my family started taking a lot of pictures, so and videos as well. So the storage started growing. So I started with an 8-bay, but just filled it up 3 drives, and then just started filling up with 1 drive as the data grew. So I just kept adding 1 drive. I'm actually at think up to 6 drives, and I still have 2 more bays to go. So that's something you can think about. Or the traditional way is you can buy a NAS, and we also now have expansion units, so you can add another expansion like a USB or SATA expansions that you can add on to your main NAS to expand the storage. The other thing you need to think about is the CPU. So as I mentioned, it goes back to what your use case is. If your use case is just storing your data like files, pictures, and videos, and there's no streaming like that or nothing like that, then ARM processor is a great fit. We have a 4 to 6-bay ARM processors that a lot of businesses use because they only use it for like storing their files, like accounting, those like accounting, real estate agents. They all use our NASs to just store data because it's just documents that they store. They're not doing any kind of streaming or anything like that. But if you use it for using it for home, then and you think that you're gonna stream some videos through like Plex or to your app, then you may want to have like an Intel Celeron processor that has the Intel QuickSync, so it can stream your videos smoothly as well. And if you talk about video editing, then something like an i-series processor or AMD Ryzen processor would be a good fit. And lastly, what networking do you need? Our QNAP has already moved on to 1 gigabit networking. We have all of our NAS is now base 2.5 gig, except for the single 1-bay unit. But everything else is 2.5 gig. So if you purchase a NAS, you're already getting double the speed of other NAS manufacturers already. And then we also have devices that can go up to 10 gig, 25 gig connectivity. So if you video professional for home use and small businesses, most likely small businesses may need to go 10 gig, but no, for home users, I've never seen more than 2.5 gig use case. But for like home labs or for video editing, content creation, you may want to think about 10 gigabit connectivity as well. So those are the major challenges that you need to think about when making that decision.
Also, other considerations are, of course, your storage capacity, your transfer speed, as Zaval mentioned. If you're just using your NAS for something just for saving files and saving, just not too data intensive type of files. You can go with larger, smaller drives. You can go 2 4 terabyte drives. If you're doing video editing, you're doing or virtualization, you need a large business storage deployments. You would of course want to consider larger capacity drives, and that will lead you to transfer speeds as well. You got larger data, video editing guys who you're sending 4K, 8K files, back and forth. Of course, you would want something, 10 gig, 25 gig. We're trying to expand our portfolio, making 25 gig the new 10 gig by making it a little more affordable. And actually, a lot of our NAS now are compatible with 25 gig cards as well. So for smaller guys, you're looking for kind of a home recommendations. We have our 33 series here, TS216, also our 62 series and our 64 series. 64 would be our more flagship model of our home series. Kind of blurs the line between home and also SMB as well. We have our 2 4 and 6-bay solutions for that. You got it, Michael.
Yeah, so for home storage, so these are the 4 models that we recommend. The X33 series is a basic storage device, does not do much of a streaming platform on that device. So if you just want something to store your documents, your photos and videos, and you don't plan on any kind of streaming, then that's a perfect device. We have a single bay 2-bay and a 4-bay series of that device. Again, it's really cost effective. It starts about under $200 on a single bay unit, and then you can expand it. We also have bundles for that. We have a 4 and 8 terabyte bundles that you can now purchase with QNAP. And then that's again an entry-level device that just need for storage. For 216G does come with NPU, which means that it has neural processing engine that allows you to do like especially for photo editing, not photo editing, basically for photo storage. So if you have a lot of like for myself, a lot of my family stores a lot of photos, and then QNAP gives you a free application called QImagi, which allows you to organize your photos, and it does facial recognition, just like Google or Apple Photos, right? You have photo features like facial recognition, location recognition, object recognition, like organizing albums. This all can be supported on 216G because of the NPU processing power that it has. So a 216, it's a 2-bay NAS with 2.5 gig port, and you can just add maybe 4 terabytes in RAID 1 capacity, and you have a 4 terabyte system. It can actually go up to 24 terabytes because it's a single bay on that device can support 24 terabytes. Again, it's a cost-effective entry-level 2.5G with some processing that it does. And the 62 and 64 series are our flagship models. 64 is a flagship model that can do multi-purpose. It can do video editing. It can do video streaming, 4K video streaming as well. 62, it's a quad-core Intel Celeron processor, and the 62 is a dual-core Intel Celeron processor that again can do a lot more and do multi-computer backups. It can do video storage, you can do photo storage, streaming as well. So all that features are supported. The 64 can also run virtual machines on top of that, and which we'll talk about in the next few slides. So yeah, for home storage, we have multiple options that customer will choose. I would recommend these 4 models that you can choose between.
So next would be if you're looking for a home media server, a lot of folks out there, they run Plex on their NAS. Things that we need to consider are CPU performance, built-in GPU, and of course drive performance. If you want performance, you want to go with SSDs. So stuff that models, series again that we recommend. We have our 62 series, that 64 that Bob previously mentioned. We also have a specialized NAS. Well, a NAS pretty much dedicated for like a home media server. It's our HS264. It's a different type of form factor out there. And we also, the last of the series we recommend is our HS74 series. So here we're talking about, Intel iCore 5, iCore 7. We also have a 9 model, i9 model available as well. So, of course, the better CPU performance, the better performance you'll have on your Plex, less buffering. You can stream, faster stream. You can beyond 1080. You can do 4K, 8K, of course. But what else would it get?
Yeah, so for home media servers, you want to make sure that you have a good processing power for your NAS, because the files resolution nowadays everyone is moved on to 4K. So 4K is a new normal. Before it was 1080p. 1080p is more is great for used to be great. It used to be able to support on the lower end models, but 4K requires some kind of processing power, because when you stream, if it's the right format that your TV or your streaming box can support, then it's just direct streaming. But sometimes what happens is if you're traveling, let's say if you're in a hotel room and you have a NAS at home that has Plex media streaming server, the hotel does not have a good Wi-Fi. The Plex knows about that. Just like Netflix, Plex can also change the resolution on the go. So it lowers the resolution. So if you have a 4K original file and your hotel Wi-Fi is slow enough, cannot stream 4K, but it can stream 1080p or even 720p, the NAS can start transcoding that, or what I mean by transcoding is converting that 4K into, let's say, 1080p or 720p. But it can do live transcoding. So as you're streaming, the NAS is actually converting the video to a lower resolution and then sending that video out to your phone or to your hotel Wi-Fi. Now, for that, you do require some kind of processing power, especially the NAS with the built-in GPU, like an Intel X64 or the HX74 series that is iCore I-series processor in them. The x64 can do single 4K streaming, but when you talk about multi-computers, if you have a lot of family or friends that do log into your NAS and do stream, then you want to require, yeah, exactly. You require something like an X74 series that comes with Intel i5, i7, or even an i9 series. And not just streaming, with that processing power, you can actually do a lot more. I have an Intel X74 series, an 8-bay unit with an i5 processor. So I run virtual machines on top of that. It's also a Dropbox replacement for me. It's a QSync device. So I have multiple computers that do no, it's like a box. I don't have to pay like subscription. I don't like to pay subscription, so I like to do everything on my NAS. So it's the Intel Quick Sync or QSync. It's like a Dropbox replacement. So my computer has a folder, or it constantly syncs back to my NAS. So that again, it's no subscription that QNAP charges for it. So why not take advantage of that? So something you want to do multiple purposes on that device, not just streaming, but you also do want to do a lot more stuff with the device. And X74 can allow you to do that as well. It's a multi-core processing power.
We got a lot of home lab users out there. So, of course, things you want to consider for home lab, since you'll be running different types of applications, you'll be running, VMs, a lot of labor intensive stuff. Things you want to consider are, of course, CPU performance. You want something with a beefy CPU. RAM, of course, you want, at least, you're looking at 8 gig or 4 to 8 gig minimum that we're depending on what you're planning to deploy. And again, it would be nice to have a GPU in your NAS as well to give it a little more boost. So some of those recommended models that we recommend for home lab, again, 64. You'll see 64 pop up a lot because it covers a lot of real estate. From home users to SMB users to, again, for home labs, because it also has a PCIe slot in the back. You can expand the network connectivity. You can throw a 10 gig card in there. It comes with the 2.5 gig ports, but you can beef it up to for more speed if needed. We also have our 53E series, which is similar to our 64, just has other features out there that make it stand out a little more. We have our 73A series. We start getting into our AMD powered NAS, and we also have our 973, which is a little different than the rest of our form factors, which gives you, you'll see here on the slide, you have 5 HDD slots with 4 SSD slots. So you got kind of a hybrid setup there that you can use the SSDs for cache as well. So let's get on that one, Nicole.
Yeah, so home labs, again, it's a huge market for us. A lot of people have been using QNAP. So storage is always required in a home lab scenario, right? And a QNAP can be a good fit because it can serve multiple purposes. A lot of people use home labs. They have VMware environments, they have Hyper-V environments. You require more storage for that. A QNAP can be a good fit for that. As I mentioned, all of our NASs come with 2.5 gig ports, but the NAS you have mentioned here, the 973AX already comes with built-in 10 gig port. The 73A, 53, 64 all have PCIe slots that you can add on a 10 gig card connectivity onto that. So you can actually add 10 gig connectivity to that devices. So as I mentioned, some consideration when it comes to home lab is the CPU performance. So you want to make sure that what you're going to be using the NAS for. We have home lab users, as I mentioned, for VMware's Hyper-V environment. Since the VM is not running on the QNAP, you don't require a high core count. So you just need high performance storage device. And all of these do have M.2 slots, except for the 973 comes with 4 SSD slots. So you can do a kind of hybrid setup on all of these. You can do the M.2 for initial system storage, and then the hard drive for your main storage. So, and also you can use it for cache on M.2 drive. So when you're trying to read and write, it's more faster on the device as well. And the other consideration is, let's say if you don't have a VMware or Hyper-V setup, but you do want to run multiple virtual machines, then you can consider something with a high core count like a 73A or 973AX, which is an AMD Ryzen processor that allows you to run virtual machine has higher core count, also hyper-threading features as well. So you can run Windows machine or Linux machine that you want to do some kind of testing for your work, or you just want to run just virtual machines on top of that. You can also run containers or Dockers on top of the QNAP, We have a lot of people that use the home assistant feature of the device, which means that you can run a container that can control the whole house. If you have home automation set up at your place, you can run the QNAP. You can run the whole home automation directly on top of the QNAP. So that's another use case that we have seen people use QNAP for. Again, rest of them is just basically file sharing that they use the QNAP for. So again, those are the important features. Also, another consideration when it comes to running virtual machines is RAM. So you want to so if you have a VM that will take at least 4 gigs of RAM, you want to at least get an 8 gig RAM on the QNAP device. You can also expand them to 16 gigs, 32 gigs, especially on the AMD Ryzen processors or AMD processors. You can actually upgrade them to at least 64 gigs of RAM. Another consideration with QNAP also comes with all of these except for the 53E has rack mount options. So if you want to do rack mounts, if you have a home lab that has an existing rack mounts, you can get a single 1U rack mount of a 64 series, which is a 4-bay unit. We have an 8-bay. We also have a 12-bay unit as well. That you can also do that as well. Similarly, for the 73A, we have rack mount options for that as well. So you can actually, if you have a rack setup, why not just have a NAS and a rack mount as well? So that's another consideration when it comes to a home lab.
So next for video editing guys and creative applications, and this is a big market for us. We have some dedicated NAS that we have on the market. Actually, industry only solutions that we have as our Thunderbolt NAS. We started with that, but that's our NAS with Thunderbolt ports and also PCIe slots, so you can expand to a 10 gig or a 25 gig port. But we've expanded our portfolio a lot in this segment. Some things just to consider, of course, connection speed. You want at least 10, 25 gig for your large video editing files. Drive performance, again, here you want to, of course, we have large cap drives that you can consider for large capacity, but we also have SSDs. M.2s, some NAS that support M.2s, also U.2, U.3. So drive performance is one thing you want to consider. CPU performance, of course, because you're going to have some labor-intensive stuff with big files, big video editing files. You want something that performs well. Storage capacity as well. Of course, you got a ton of video files, 8K, 4K that you can add out. So recommended models, what do you got, Joel?
Yeah, so for video editing, as Eric mentioned, it's a huge industry for us. A lot of YouTubers actually use QNAP devices for their content creation because, again, with QNAP, without QNAP, originally what we saw is a lot of people use external SSD drives to connect the USB drive to the computer, edit off of that, and that's it. But the problem with those is it's a single bay unit. If you have another person that wants to collaborate, you have to unplug the SSD, give it to him, and then he starts editing on his computer. With QNAP device, you can do a shared collaborative storage device. You can actually connect this on the network, and you can have multiple people connect this over the network, and they can do editing on their own project. They can set up multiple projects on the QNAP device. So again, that's a major advantage. Also, another advantage is because QNAP is multi-bay devices, even if you lose a drive, your data is still safe. So that's another consideration. With SSD drive, single SSD drive, of course, it's portable, it's really good, it's fast, connected to a computer, but what happens if you lose that drive or that SSD gets corrupted over the time, right? So with QNAP device, you can replace the drive and everything is safe, but with SSD drive, you have to send it over to a data recovery center, and that's going to cost you a lot to recover data. So again, data protection as well as speed is all another important factor as well. And the QNAP, again, is the only NAS manufacturer that allows you to connect Thunderbolt connection directly to your Mac or Windows computer now. So you can, if you want to still have the flexibility of connecting your storage directly to your computer, QNAP is the only solution available for you. So you can connect, you can buy our Thunderbolt series device, which is a TVS HX74T, or the new form factor that we have, which is a 5-bay all M.2 drives, which is 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports on these devices. You can actually connect 2 computers at the same time. and edit off of this directly. You can get over 1,000 megabytes of read and write on these devices. Actually, both of these can reach up to 1,500 megabytes of read and write. I'm talking about not only 4K editing, 6K, 8K, 12K editing easily on these devices. So again, another consideration that you can think about. And then I'm talking about extreme production environments, because we do have a lot of production companies that use our devices. Um, we have extremely high speed connectivity devices like the 1290FX, which is U.2 all NVMe 12-bay unit that can reach 25 gig connectivity. So extremely fast connectivity as well. So something that you need to consider when you're talking about what kind of resolution are you thinking about. If it's just 4K, 8K files, then you need something with a high processing power. But if you just have it something like a 1080p or a small 4K file like an X64 series can be a good fit for you as well. So those are some consideration. The CPU performance, again, that's also important as well when it comes to storage. So something like an Intel AMD series, definitely a good fit for you. Nothing like an ARM processor would not be able to fit for this storage device for video editing capacity as well, right? So these files tend to get larger. So then it goes back to my previous statement, right? So if you think about if you are, so you need to think about future as well, not just today's storage. So you definitely want to grow. Instead of deleting your old projects, why don't you save them, right? So you can buy like a multi-terabyte, a small like an 8-bay unit, but start small and keep adding drives as you go. So that's another option as well. And with M.2 and the SSD base, you can use that for the storage. You can create two storage capacities, right? You can use the M.2 drive and create its own shared folder. So when you editing, you can edit off of the M.2, and you can create like the hard drive can have its own storage. So when you're done with the editing, you can copy that data back into the hard drive. So you have best of both worlds kind of a thing, right? So, and lastly, I think is we're going to go to virtualization, right?
Yeah. Yeah, virtualization storage is another big segment for us here. We got folks running VMs on their NAS. They're running different types of software. You could run virtualization storage on our NAS, but some things you want to consider, all depending on what you're running. Of course, you want CPU performance. Of course, large storage capacity for running VMs. You're running, for example, some people run VMSs on our NAS. They'll run for surveillance. You got a lot of surveillance storage. You want large storage capacity. Connection speed as well. Of course, that's always kind of important across the board. And RAM, labor intensive applications. You don't want your RAM to start bottlenecking there. So RAM is definitely something you want to consider. What do you got on that, Devon?
Yeah, so virtualization storage, there are two sections, right? Virtualization storage or running virtualization on the QNAP. We support both, actually. A lot of our customers, huge customer base for us would be virtualization storage. They have their own VMware, Hyper-V environment, Citrix environment, all of these environments that they are running existing already, and they need additional storage. QNAP can be a great fit for them. So we have we do support iSCSI, we do support Fabric Channel, we support NFS. So you can add on QNAP to existing VMware Hyper-V environment easily. And then remember, we with our Rackmon units, especially, most of them come with 10 gig built-in already. So you don't need to purchase additional expansion cards. You just need to connect this to your network, and then that's it. You have 10 gig connectivity to your existing virtualization storage. Our devices start from, as I mentioned, a single 1-bay unit, but when it comes to virtualization, we can go up to 30-bay units. So you can actually have 24 hard drives with 6 SSDs. That's the unit that you see right here. This is a 3087 series unit. It's a 24-bay in the front, and then we have a 6 SSDs, like a hybrid setup. So the 6 SSDs can be used for caching as well as the initial system storage, and then the hard drives can be used for your main storage. So this would be like high capacity storage solutions. These can go up to 1 petabyte capacity. but we have our all-flash unit as well that can go up to 4 petabytes of storage capacity, even up to 5 petabytes of storage capacities with all NVMe drives with expansion base. So something to consider is CPU performance. You want to make sure that you are using something like an Intel Xeon processor, AMD EPYC processors on high capacity storage. What kind of capacity do you need? So with these devices, usually we have customers that will buy the initial NAS, and we do serve expansions for these units. We have a 24-bay expansion, 12-bay expansion, and a 16-bay expansion. So the initial capacity can start from, let's say, 200 terabytes, and then you can add on additional expansions. Like for example, for this unit, you can start with 300 terabyte, add another 24-bay unit, which is an expansion unit. It's a dumb unit, so it's really cost effective when it comes to expansion. And then you can just expand the initial storage. So you can expand to the initial 300 terabyte to another 300 terabyte, and you can add another 24 bay to make it 900 terabytes, and then you reach a capacity of 1 petabyte. So that's how easily it is to expand. So that's also another something to consider as well. And then RAM. So if you just if you're just using this for storage, then you can run with like a 16 32 gig storage RAM capacity. But if you're going to be planning to use if you're planning to run virtual machines on top of that, you can think about maybe 164 gigs of RAM or 128 gigs of RAM, or all flash can actually go up to 1 terabyte of RAM capacity. So extremely high capacity RAM available for you. And then the more the storage, when you talk about 1 petabyte, then you require more RAM as well. So higher storage capacities will require higher RAM as well.
And with all that said, here's some of our niche models that we have, just basically, specialized NAS for all different types of deployments. We have, starting with the left, we have our silent all-flash NAS, which is for quiet types of deployment. You just want something compact, quiet, put in the corner, but you want flash, something fast. We have our all-flash NAS. Short-gut NAS, small. If you need something to fit in a rack, that can pretty much fit anywhere in any rack deployment. We have short-gut NAS. We also have our silent NAS, which we touched on briefly. This is great for multimedia. You have it next to your entertainment center. You have large capacity. Put a couple of HDDs in there, and you can run Plex on it. Also, we have our Thunderbolt NAS as well. We have a whole variety of models, but this one you specifically see on the right there. This is our 574, which is all flash and Thunderbolt for high-speed creative professionals. You can take this for video editing on the go. So we have some specialized, some niche models, all depending on what you need.
Yeah, so we already have our rack mount units, we have our desktop units, but these are something that you need specific use case for. Like for example, a silent all flash NAS. A lot of audio engineers use this device because there's no fan on them. It's all SSD based, so it's really quiet. Does not make any kind of noise. So a lot of sound engineers are using this particular device. It's an extremely fast device. It's a 4-bay SSD drive. A lot of home lab actually use this device. It's a short depth device because remember, home labs it's still space constrained. So they have a small setup, a small rack, a movable rack. So a small half inch, half depth rack mount can be a perfect fit for them. For entertainment, silent NAS can be good fit. Just sits next to your home entertainment device. And Thunderbolt NAS, something that will sit next to your desk, does not take up that much space. It's a perfect fit. It's like a Thunderbolt device as well. And for spec overview, again, so as I mentioned, we'll just recap on what we talked about before. Storage capacity, how much storage you require, right? We can go up to 24 terabyte on a single capacity. 30 terabytes actually coming up soon as well, so look out for that. We'll be compatible with those as well. CPU, we have an entry-level Intel Celeron ARM CPUs, Intel Celeron CPUs, Intel Core series CPUs, Ryzen processors, Intel Xeon processors, and EPYC processors for extreme environments. RAMs, again, entry level, which comes with all of our NASs at least have 2 gigs of RAM and can be expanded, as I mentioned, up to 4 terabytes that you can actually expand up to. And then most of our devices have expansion RAMs that you can add on to expand the RAM. And then connection speeds, 1 gigabit entry level. We only have a single device that is now 1 gigabit. Everything else is moved down to 2.5 gigs. So all base models are 2.5 gigs. A lot of devices come with 10 gig or upgradable to 10 gig. Thunderbolt devices, we are the only NAS manufacturer that does Thunderbolt devices. 25 gig connectivity, and then as well as up to 100 gig connectivity. So extremely high speed connectivity. GPU, something that you require for video streaming, video editing, then you require, or via virtualization with some video processing, then you require GPU. Many of our models come with integrated GPUs, but we have PCI expansion slots. You can fit an NVIDIA GPU on top of that to add on more GPU support. And drive support, we have 3.5-inch SATA drives, 2.5-inch SATA drives, 2.5-inch U.2 NVMe drives, M.2 drives, E.1S drives. So a lot of drive options to select between as well. And then our operating system. So for many years, QNAP used to have our own standard operating system, which is the QTS platform. It was ext4 file system. It supports 1,000 up to 1,000 snapshots to recover from, and extensive app support as well. But then we not recently, but it's been a while now. I would say 5 years. Then we have our new operating system, which is QTS Hero operating system, that is based off ZFS file format. Now, these both operating systems will work side by side. The ZFS is more meant for small business and above, enterprise and small business customers. QTS can be a good fit for home users. Again, ZFS supports 65,000 snapshots, inline deduplication, copy and write features for recovery, self-healing. Okay, these are the features that enterprise customers really care about. But the QTS is still our main bread and butter. A lot of customers still use this device. We still will keep supporting them as well.
Sorry, our QNAP NAS selector, which is probably, pretty much when I talk to clients and customers out there, I recommend visit our QNAP website. We have everything filtered, so when you're selecting your NAS, you can pretty much narrow everything down by connectivity, how many drive bays you need, also what type of segment, if you're looking for an enterprise NAS or a home NAS, SMB NAS, we have everything broken down. You can filter and select, depending on what type of user, what specifics do you need. If you're looking for hardware expansion, you can select, you can see what different type of expansion units we have available. We also have everything kind of broken down by, if you want CPU, what type of RAM, pretty much everything broken down. If you visit our QNAP website and check out our NAS selector, it's really, really easy to use and really makes things easier when looking for your NAS. And here we'll be handing it off to Madeline from WD, who will talk a little bit about hard drives. So another important question is, what drives do I get with my NAS? And we'll be handing over to Madeline.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Madeline, and I'm the HDD Product Marketing Manager for Western Digital. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick overview of our WD Red family of products. WD Red hard drives and SSDs are specifically designed for use in NAS systems. To increase capacity, we offer 2 lines of hard drives, our WD Red Plus and our WD Red Pro. To increase performance, we offer our WD Red SATA and NVMe SSDs. All WD Red products are engineered with our NASware technology. NASware is hardware and firmware specifically tuned for NAS workloads to increase performance, efficiency, and reliability. All WD Red products are thoroughly tested with QNAP systems to ensure easy integration and full compatibility. So, if you populate a QNAP system with WD Red drives, you will have a great NAS system that will provide you reliable, strong performance for years to come. Now, let's take a deeper look at our WD Red hard drives. Next slide, please. We have 2 product lines, WD Red Plus and WD Red Pro. WD Red Plus drives are our standard hard drives that provide good quality storage and are at a cost-effective price. Our Red Plus drives range in sizes from 2 terabytes to 12 terabytes and are great for small businesses and power users. Now, if you need a lot of capacity or if you have multiple users, you'll go ahead and need to step up to our WD Red Pro drives. WD Red Pro drives are our highest quality drives based on the latest technology that contain all the bells and whistles. Some of these bells and whistles include field-proven hardware and firmware designs optimized for NAS, enterprise class reliability rating, workload, and warranty period, and are also designed for high-intensity 24/7 multi-user NAS environments. Red Pro drives range in sizes from 2 terabytes to 24 terabytes and provide the highest level of performance and reliability. They may be more expensive, but if you need a lot of capacity, they may be actually more cost-effective in your solution. Now, next slide, please. Now, to close things out, thank you guys so much for listening. Happy holidays. Western Digital and QNAP have a wonderful relationship, and we hope to continue being able to give you guys wonderful solutions for your products. Now, we'll go ahead and hand it back to Eric and Deval. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you, Madeline.
Thank
and
you.
That wraps up our webinar for today. Thank you all for joining. It looks like we have a couple of questions here in the Q&A.
All right, yeah, so let's look at, so the first question is from James. Which NAS would you recommend for a family that primarily uses for photo and video backups and streaming as well? So I think it's a broad question to answer, but I think 624 series is what I would recommend. It covers a lot of bases and can do all of them quite well, and it can do all of them together. So if you want, so 64 series can help you back up your Mac computers, Windows computers. We now have a license-free image level backup for Windows computers, so you can now back up all your Windows computers onto the QNAP device, and it can stream at the same time, and it can do photo organization at the same times. You can do all of that together at the same time. So X64 series will be a good fit. If you're just looking for backups and not looking much for streaming, anything like that, X33 series or 216G or an X62 would be a good fit for that as well. So those are some models I would recommend for that use. If you have another question, which is most optimal drive for gaming in 2025, such as RTX 5 series PC? I think that's more for a question for a PC enthusiast, but I mean, I do also try to game on my computer, and I built my own computer. So anything like a Samsung 990 Pro, something like that, or WD drive as well would be another great fit for that as well. Anything with M.2 form factor would be a great fit for that use case. WD Black drive would be another great option for that gaming series drive as well.
All right, what else we got here?
You may want to. That's just the answer. Would this PPT will be shared post webinar? Yes, this will be.
We'll put up a link. We'll do a follow up, and we'll share the PPT with everyone. So just bear with us. Give us a couple of days, and we'll send over a follow up with the PPT. Anybody else? Any other questions? We'll keep the Q&A open for another minute or so.
Wow, another great feedback from for WD team as well. I don't believe I've ever received a bad report or defective report for a WD Red drive. So thank you for that feedback for WD drives. So that's good to know. I mean, these drives are meant for reliability, so you should not have much of an issue with reliability on these drives.
Yeah, my home NAS, I have 2 WD Reds. I've had them running for about 6 years, and I hadn't had any issues. I would actually forget my NAS is there. Can you mix SSD and regular drives?
Yes, so you can mix SSD. So with QTS platform, we have something called Q-tier that will allow you to actually do a combined storage capacity with M.2 as well as regular hard drives, and then the QNAP will see which data is the hot data. What I mean by hot data, which data you use a lot. So it will put that data automatically on the M.2 or SSD drive, and then the cold data, which you don't use that much or that you haven't touched that for a while, that will be automatically saved onto the regular hard drive. That's only available for QTS platform. With QTS Hero, You can do a manual way to do it. You can create two different shared folder. One would be the system volume will be on the M.2 or SSD drive, and then the regular hard drive will have its own storage pool that will have its own capacity. So yeah, you can definitely mix drives onto the QNAP or mix SSD and regular drives. Most of our NASs come with M.2 or some kind of SSD base, and as well as regular hard drive base. Any info about what you may be showing off at CES in a few weeks? Unfortunately, we won't be attending CES. We have stopped attending CES since 2021.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gotten a little more on the consumer side. So unfortunately, you know, we don't quite really have a space at CES anymore. But we attend. We're at NAB. We attend a lot of other trade shows. We probably do you know, about a dozen a year, different events around the country. Just unfortunately, CES is one that we don't no longer attend. But we'll be having we'll announce you know, new product presentations. I'm sorry, new product announcements in the next coming months for stuff we have coming for 2025.
We have another few quick Q&As. Any discount or promotion going on? That's actually a good question, Rajesh. We have on our website, we actually have a couple of promotions going on right now. I'll also talk about the webinar giveaway, but let me talk about the promotions. We have promotions going on the 433, 233, and 462 at up to 10 to 20% off on our models. And you can actually look up on store.qnap.com for these promotions. So yes, so that's something that you can look out for. Another question we have is from Abraham. Is wouldn't memory also be considered depending upon the amount of data drives running? Is memory being used for cache, or would then NVMe suffice? So for ZFS, and memory actually is used for caching as well, especially for read caching. So that's why ZFS models usually come with at least 8 gigs of RAM. So the higher memory, the better. There's also the other part of your question is also true. The memory is also being considered when it comes to data or drive running. So how much data that you have. So the only thing is, when it comes to like few hundred terabytes, it's not much of an issue. If you have an 8 gig system, that can actually easily can handle a few hundred terabytes. But memory does come into play when it comes to anything above half a petabyte, right? 500 terabytes or up to 1 petabyte. Then you require more memory on them, like 64 gigs for half a petabyte, and then at least 128 gigs for 1 petabyte storage capacity. Anything more than that, definitely you will go up to 256 gigabytes of memory and then 4 to 5 petabytes will require at least a few, I would say. There's a chart online that will allow you to give you that more information, but at least 256 gigs for multi-petabyte system. I'll go back to chat for have any further questions. Will there be an event in Charlotte, North Carolina?
Yeah, I don't believe we have any events in the Charlotte area at the moment. But we may be attending some events nearby. We'll keep everyone posted in our events calendar, and we'll let you know. Thank you all. We really appreciate everybody who joined today's webinar, and happy holidays to all. And we'll be seeing you next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Bye.